Celtic left it late, but somehow they got the job done. A dramatic 93rd minute winner secured 3 precious points against Motherwell at Celtic Park. And while the performance was far from convincing, the feeling of relief around the ground said everything. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't dominant, but it was a win. And right now, that's what Celtic desperately need. With growing pressure, questions around the squad, and an unsettled mood among the support, this could be one of those ugly victories that ends up meaning a lot more than just 3 points. From the first whistle, it was clear that Celtic weren't at their sharpest. The team looked nervous, disjointed, almost lacking belief in some moments. Players you'd normally count on to be calm and composed were giving the ball away like it was their first game. Anthony Ralston, Callum McGregor, Daizen Maeda, Marcelo Serra, they were all guilty at different points of sloppy passing, poor decisions, and allowing Motherwell too much encouragement. And the visitors didn't need a second invitation. They came to Glasgow with a clear game plan, and for large spells, they looked more organized, fitter, and hungrier. Brendan Rodgers made 4 changes from the side that played Brager. Kasper Schmeichel started in goal, Ralston came in at right back, Marcelo Serra took over on the left, and there were changes in midfield too, with Rio Hatate and Luke Macon stepping in. Up top, it was the usual front 3, Daizen on the right, Denny on the left, and Kelechi Iheanacho leading the line. But again, despite the changes, the performance remained flat. The tempo was sluggish, the build-up predictable, and the crowd grew restless with every passing minute. Celtic did get the breakthrough in the first half via a penalty, calmly dispatched by Iheanacho. But even that moment didn't feel like a turning point. It wasn't the result of sustained pressure or brilliant play. It was more a moment of fortune, a handball decision that went their way. And instead of calming nerves, it seemed to do the opposite. Motherwell kept coming, and Celtic's control of the match started to fade. Right before the break, the away side pounced on a catastrophic mistake at the back. Ralston's heavy touch was bad, but the real problem started with Macon's pass. A telegraphed ball in a dangerous area that invited pressure. Within seconds, Celtic went from a position of safety to handing Motherwell an equalizer on a silver platter. The defending in the box was just as poor, with players caught ball watching as Motherwell punished them clinically. Second half started, and things only got worse. Serra stepped on a Motherwell player's foot in the box. The referee pointed to the spot after a VAR check, and suddenly Celtic were 2-1 down. The stadium atmosphere shifted, not quite toxic, but definitely volatile. Fans were frustrated, the team looked lost, and it felt like another disastrous afternoon was unfolding. It wasn't just the scoreline. It was the lack of creativity, the lack of intensity, the lack of confidence. You just didn't see where a goal was going to come from. But then came the lifeline. Out of nowhere, Motherwell, who had played some really positive, brave football under Jens Berthelascu, made a complete mess of playing out from the back. The goalkeeper handed the ball straight to Benji Negrin, who gratefully accepted the gift and leveled the score. And suddenly, the mood flipped again. The stadium woke up, the players seemed to believe again, and it felt like maybe, just maybe, there was still a winner to be found. And what a winner it was. Balo Gisha found acres of space on the left, finally showing the kind of purpose and clarity Celtic fans have been waiting for. One touch, head up, low-driven cross, and Daizen Maeda arrived perfectly to head home. A moment of quality, precision, and timing that had been missing for most of the match. 93rd minute. Game over, and Celtic Park erupted. It had been a long time since the crowd had felt that kind of last-gasp release, and it was needed. Maybe not deserved, but definitely needed. Rodgers and his coaching staff showed emotion on the touchline. You could see what it meant. But even with that goal, even with the win, there are serious issues. The right-hand side continues to be a weak link. Ralston struggled again, as he did against Hibs. He just doesn't look up to the level required right now. And with Alistair Johnston close to returning from injury, you'd expect changes after the break. Kobe Donovan being left out entirely was a bit of a surprise too. If fit, he should absolutely be ahead of Ralston in the pecking order, regardless of midweek rotation. Maeda, for all the credit he deserves for scoring the winner, looked uncomfortable on the right. He's clearly more effective on the left or through the middle, but Celtic just don't seem to have a good solution for that right-sided role. James Forrest is past his best, Young hasn't convinced, and no one has nailed down that spot. It's a problem that continues to haunt this side. In midfield, it's even worse. There's a real lack of chemistry, urgency, and imagination. And unlike other areas of the pitch, there's no cavalry coming in. What we've got now is what we'll have until at least January, and that's a worrying thought. The reality is that, despite the league table looking okay, Celtic are riding their luck. That was their third win in 7 league matches secured after the 87th minute. You can't keep relying on last-minute goals to bail you out. Eventually, that luck runs out. The performances just haven't matched the results, and if the team doesn't find another level soon, they'll be in serious trouble across multiple competitions. But even with all that said, there are a few positives. BOMBSHELL looked more confident, showed intent, and delivered a huge assist. Negrin continues to make the most of every opportunity and seems to play with real fire. Iheanacho, too, looks like someone who cares, animated, engaged, willing to lead. These newer players, in many ways, are carrying Celtic right now. They're hungry, they're still trying to prove themselves, and that hunger is showing. Rodgers needs to lean into that. Trust the new blood. The old guard look jaded, maybe even mentally checked out. Big calls need to be made. The international break comes at an interesting time. It's a chance to reset, but with so many players away, Rodgers won't have the full group to work with. When they return, it's straight back into the fire. A trip to Tynecastle, a cup semi-final at Hampton, and a couple of must-win matches in Europe. The pressure isn't going anywhere. If anything, it's only going to grow. For now, though, Celtic can breathe. 3-2 against Motherwell. Ugly, nervy, frustrating, but a win. And maybe, just maybe, the start of something better. Despite the late win and the celebrations that followed, there's no shaking the feeling that Celtic are on fragile ground. You look at the squad, the recent performances, and the atmosphere around the club, and it all feels a bit unsteady. Brendan Rodgers is saying the right things, talking up the character, the resilience, the fighting spirit, and there's no denying that those qualities were on display in the final moments against Motherwell. But no manager, not even one with Rodgers' pedigree, can gloss over the fact that Celtic are nowhere near the level expected of them. Not by the fans, not by the board, and certainly not by Rodgers himself. What's most worrying is how deep the problems run. This isn't just about poor finishing or a couple of underperforming players. It's structural. It's tactical. There's a lack of identity in this Celtic team right now. You don't watch them and instantly see a system or a style that sets them apart. For years, even through rough spells, there was at least an idea. High pressing, quick passing, relentless attacking. But now, it's hard to tell what Celtic are trying to do. Possession feels slow and aimless. The transitions lack energy. Players look uncertain of their roles. And the spark that made this team dangerous in the past just isn't there anymore. The midfield is the heart of the issue. Callum McGregor, normally the beating heart of the team, is clearly feeling the weight of carrying a midfield that isn't functioning. Rio Hatate, back in the side, is still searching for sharpness. Luke Macon, while clearly a promising player, doesn't yet look ready to dictate games at this level. And Bernardo, when he plays, floats in and out of matches. The chemistry just isn't there, and without a cohesive midfield, everything else suffers. The defense is exposed, the attack is starved of service, and the overall tempo of matches drops into this slow, predictable rhythm that makes Celtic vulnerable. Up front, things aren't much clearer. Kelechi Iheanacho is doing his best, and his attitude can't be faulted, but the supply line is poor. Dyson Maeda's work rate remains top class, but on the right, he looks wasted. He doesn't naturally link up from that side, and his output suffers. On the left, Denny is still trying to find consistency. And behind them, there's no one really pushing hard enough to force their way into the starting 11. There's a gap where there should be competition, and that's not healthy. Defensively, Celtic remains shaky. Ralston has been targeted in back-to-back games, and rightly so. He's looked off the pace, clumsy on the ball, and positionally all over the place. Marcelo Serra, while showing glimpses of promise, is still raw and prone to lapses in concentration. Cameron Carter-Vickers and Liam Scales haven't looked like a dominant pairing either. They do a job, but it's not commanding. It's not the kind of backline that fills you with confidence. The return of Alistair Johnston can't come soon enough, and if Donovan is fit, he has to be part of the plan going forward. That said, the biggest challenge for Rodgers isn't about individual players, it's about belief. The belief in the system. The belief that the team can control games, dominate opponents, and play the kind of football that gets the fans on their feet. Right now, too many games are being dragged into a scrappy, nervy mess. Too often, Celtic are allowing teams to hang around, to believe they can get something. That's not how title-winning sides operate. And while you can argue that late winners show character, they also highlight a team that's constantly leaving itself vulnerable. There's been a lot of talk about the new signings and whether they're up to the task. And fair enough, not every new face has hit the ground running. But ironically, it's the newer players who seem to be showing the most hunger. Negrin's equalizer wasn't just about being in the right place at the right time. It was about pressing, about staying alert, about being ready to capitalize. Ballet Gish's assist wasn't the product of luck. It was the result of clarity and confidence. These are the players treating every minute like it matters. The same can't be said for some of the longer-serving members of the squad, who are starting to look like they've been on the ride one too many times. And that's where Rodgers has to make a decision. Loyalty to players who have delivered in the past can't come at the expense of the present. Celtic need urgency. They need energy. And they need players who are hungry, not just comfortable. There's a new generation trying to break through. And right now, they might just be the ones who can drag this team back to the levels it needs to be at. Of course, all of this is playing out against the backdrop of fan unrest. The atmosphere at Celtic Park in recent weeks has shifted. You can feel the tension. It's not just about performances. It's about communication, leadership, direction. There's a growing demand for transparency from the boardroom and for a stronger connection between the club and the supporters. That's why meetings like the one scheduled this week with fan representatives are so important. There's a real opportunity there to open dialogue, to reset the tone, and to show that the club understands the concerns being raised. But words won't be enough. Actions are what matter now. The next stretch of games is critical. 8 matches between now and the end of the calendar year, including a visit to Tynecastle, a cup semi-final against Rangers, and 2 huge Europa League fixtures. Celtic might be 2 points off the top and 9 ahead of Rangers in the league, but nothing is secure. Hearts look serious this time. Rangers will almost certainly improve under a new manager. And Europe? Well, for points from the next 2 games might keep hopes alive, but anything less and Celtic are looking at another early exit. So, yes, Celtic won against Motherwell. Yes, there were positives to take. But no one inside the club, and certainly no one in the stands, will be fooled into thinking all is well. The team has problems, real ones, and the clock is ticking for Brendan Rodgers to solve them. Whether he can do that depends not just on tactics or even personnel, but on whether he's willing to make bold decisions. Decisions that shake up the dressing room. Decisions that move away from safety and towards ambition. Because right now, this team is sleepwalking through too many moments. And in Scottish football, where margins are small and pressure is always present, that's a dangerous place to be. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. There's a growing buzz around the East End of Glasgow this week, and it's not just the autumn wind swirling through the stands at Celtic Park. Word from inside Parkhead suggests that Celtic have quietly wrapped up a deal for Italy's bright young striker, Giuseppe Ambrosino, a move that's already setting tongues wagging across Scottish football. While no official announcement has been made yet, multiple whispers from reliable corners close to Lennoxtown hint that the ink is already dry on the deal. Ambrosino, just 21 and tipped as one of Italy's next big attacking prospects, has been on Celtic's radar for months. The young forward, known for his sharp movement and composed finishing, made waves in Serie B last season and has been part of Italy's under-21 setup. If the rumors prove true, this could mark one of the most intriguing bits of business the Hoops have pulled off in recent years, a genuine statement of intent as they look to strengthen their front line for both domestic dominance and another crack at European competition. Inside sources claim that negotiations have been ongoing since late August, with the club working quietly to fend off interest from several mid-table Serie A sides. It's believed that manager Brendan Rodgers personally pushed for the deal after being impressed by Ambrosino's intelligence off the ball and his ability to link up play, qualities that fit perfectly into Celtic's attacking philosophy. Some fans have already taken to social media, buzzing with excitement, and drawing comparisons to a young Alvaro Morata, while others urge caution, reminding everyone that talent alone doesn't always guarantee success in the rough and tumble of Scottish football. Still, the sense of anticipation is undeniable. Celtic supporters, long accustomed to seeing flair and passion mixed with grit, will be eager to see what the Italian starlet can bring to the famous green and white. If Ambrosino adapts quickly, he could be the missing piece in Rodgers' puzzle, a spark capable of lighting up paradise once more. For now, all eyes remain on Parkhead, waiting for that official confirmation and the first glimpse of the new boy in green. One thing's for sure, something is definitely stirring in Glasgow's East End. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.